Good morning, everybody. Whether it is morning where you are or not, it is morning for me. I am freshly out of bed. I massively overslept this morning. It's Saturday and it's getting kind of gray and dreary outside. It's gonna rain at some point. I guess I just really needed to sleep because I was planning on getting started earlier on this. But today I'm going to do another try a chapter tag, but an Unhaul edition where I take books off of my physical TBR that I'm not sure I really want to read, and I'm going to determine whether I want to commit to them or not today. I have 7 things, and 4 of these are books that I got from my book bath box subscription, and I just want to say up front, I'm not picking on these books or that subscription service. I loved that box. I'm so sad that Winx isn't doing it anymore. It brought so much joy into my life. But those are books that I didn't pick for myself, and a couple of them are not what I usually read, and I just don't know if I'm gonna care about them. I really loved the other things in the box that they came in. But the books just may not be my thing. And then I have a couple of other things that either, once again, I didn't pick them for myself, or I bought copies of things that I didn't know much about. So I kind of bought them blind, and once again, they may not be particularly to my taste. So let's talk about these very quickly. I'm not going to sit here and read a bunch of descriptions, but these are the 4 book bath box books. We have It's All Fun and Games by Dave Barrett. I think this book is about a group of people who end up going on an adventure in like the fantasy world or realm that they've been playing a role-playing game in, and it seems like it would be a really fun book, but if it relies really heavily on RPGs and online gaming and stuff, that's not my thing, and I don't find that to be a super attractive premise in fiction. I'm hoping it'll surprise me, but I have a feeling this may not really be my thing. Then we have Asteroid Made of Dragons by G. Derek Adams, and I want to like this one because every time I think about the title of this, an asteroid literally made of dragons, I think that's hilarious and so fun. I think this is kind of space fantasy, science fiction, and fantasy mashed up together. And a long time ago, I actually read a couple of pages from it and thought, this is interesting. I did not expect this from what I thought was a science fiction book at the time. So yeah, I don't remember anything about the plot of this except that I like the title. Then we have Tail Chaser's Song by Tad Williams. I've never read anything by Tad Williams, but I have some friends who love him so much. This book, I feel like it's going to be an epic quest fantasy, but with a cat as a main character. And if it is that, I have to be honest, epic or quest or hero's journey type of fantasy has not been my thing for a number of years now. But man, if you had handed this book to me when I was 12, I would have been over the flippin' moon because it had a cat on the cover. Unfortunately, as an adult, I do like cats, but now I know I'm very allergic to them. So anyway, that's a tangent. I really just want to try reading this to see what it's like. Even if I don't particularly want to read this one, I am still very interested in reading some of Tad Williams' science fiction. They've come very highly recommended to me over the years. And the last one from the book bath box that I've never read is Midnight Never Come by Marie Brennan. This one I think I probably am going to want to read because I have already read things by Marie Brennan that I really enjoyed. I've read the first 3 books in her Memoirs of Lady Trent series, and this is the beginning of a series I think she wrote before the Memoirs of Lady Trent series, and I'm pretty sure it's set in Elizabethan England where Elizabeth I is fae. I think this came in like a fairy or fae themed fantasy box, and I love the cover of this. This is the Titan Books UK edition. I think it may be out of print in the US. I know there were some problems getting enough copies for the box because it was out of print in a region, but I have always thought it looked really attractive, so we'll see what I think about it today. And then the other three here I know literally nothing about. We have The Anvil of Ice by Michael Scott Rowan. I bought this book because I was trying to get copies of all of the fantasy masterworks that I didn't already have, but when I bought this one, it came in this old edition rather than the fantasy masterwork one. So I need to just try reading it, because if I don't like it, then I'm not going to try to get the edition that I want to collect. It wouldn't be worth it, but if I do like it, then I may try to upgrade to the Fantasy Masterworks edition. Rack by James Bradley. Somebody mentioned this to me a long time ago when I read Clade by Bradley. I really liked that, and somebody said, oh, he has this experimental novel called Rack, and when I happened to find a copy of it, I bought it because why not? But to be honest, if it is too experimental, if it doesn't jive with me, I won't be sad to get rid of it. There are other things I can read by Bradley that I will definitely try in the future. And the last one is A Mistake. This is Skinny Dipping in the Lake of the Dead Stories by Anya De Niro. The author goes by a different name now. And this book was sent to me accidentally when I ordered something different, and I decided to just keep it and try reading it because it's from Small Beer Press and I have high regard for what they publish. So I may like it, but if it is kind of like slipstream short fiction, something like Mary Rickards or Kelly Link's short fiction, I will know very quickly and I won't read it because I don't enjoy that type of thing. But I'd never heard of De Niro before or this collection, so it came into my life. I will give it a fair chance. So those are the books. I will probably be checking in throughout the course of the whole day because I have things to get done this Saturday. I'm going to be baking bread. I'm going to be making something out of my whole grain vegan baking book. Either just a loaf of bread, i.e. what's on the cover, or burger buns, because I need both of those things. I'm on a journey to get more comfortable making bread items. I also need to block or start blocking these shawls that I showed in my recent Friday Reads video. I'm sending off the Lost in Time shawl to my friend Chris. She said she wanted it. So I wanted to try blocking it. It's acrylic, so I'm not sure if it will actually change anything, but I'm just tempted to see what it does. So I need to get that done. I may run some errands as well, because thank you to everybody who chimed in on that green color I was going to use in my book blanket. I decided no, I'm going to save that for a different project. I'm going to go back to Hobby Lobby and pick out some other colors that work better with the color scheme, probably something purpley. So yeah, I'm going to have my day full of stuff, and don't know how long it will take me to actually read chapters from all of these, but I will hopefully get it all done today. This will be a very long video. Buckle up, get some tea, and I'm gonna go fix my hair before I start some bread. Alright, it's been about 45 minutes. I have bread rising in the kitchen. Still not sure if I'm going to make a loaf of bread or like burger buns. The recipe does either one, so I'll make up my mind later in the day. So after I got that done, I read the first parts of 2 books, and these were very easy to make my mind up on. Skinny Dipping in the Lake of the Dead by Anya De Niro. I tried to read 3 different stories in this, and I didn't make it more than a couple pages into each of them. This is not my type of fiction. It is definitely that slipstream magical realism style of like speculative fiction, and it just reads like a string of nonsense to me. I felt like there was some beauty in the author's style. She definitely knows how to write, but the type of stories, just no. So I'm letting this one go. Somebody else will enjoy it more than I do. And then I read, there are like 2 prologues and then the first chapter of Midnight Never Come. I am often very skeptical of books that have more than 1 prologue. I think most books don't need a prologue at all. Start the story when you are going to start it. Like, you could throw in this other background information some other time. Anyway, I have a little rant about too many prologues. This actually, I really enjoyed it. The first prologue lets you know that Elizabeth I, while she was in the Tower as her sister Mary was queen, is approached by a fairy, one of the Fae, who makes a deal with her. Then we fast forward about 40 years later, and this young man has come to court and he's petitioning to join like a guard for Elizabeth, and she interviews him and then allows him in. And I really like the way it was written. It was very clear and I feel like it's getting to the point. And yeah, I'm really curious about the story and the connection with the Fae court. Like, what exactly is the nature of Elizabeth's deal with the Fae? How does that work? And this is also, you know, right after Tudor England, no, into the Elizabethan age, but you know, the Tudor family. And this is a period of history that I've been a lot more interested in recently. So this one I'm definitely going to continue reading. I may even read more of it today. And with that, I think I'm going to go start blocking my shawls while my bread is rising, and I'll probably read the first chapters of Asteroid Made of Dragons, and It's All Fun and Games, because these might be the humorous ones, and you know, I'm curious. And I'm back about an hour and a half later. I made burger buns. They just came out of the oven, and they're not bricks. They're not as poofy as I thought they would be, so I guess I will try to make burgers for dinner and see if they're edible. Yeah, I am not good at this bread thing. And while all that was happening, I blocked one of my shawls. This took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. And then I steamed it and everything, so that one is done. I'm gonna have to film somewhere else when I do the other one in the area where I usually film. So yeah, I'm gonna do this one is acrylic. The other one that I did was merino, and so I have no idea really what to do with the acrylic. I'm just gonna do roughly the same thing that I did with the other one because I don't know what I'm doing. Can you tell? But anyway, I read the first 20 or so pages of both of these books. It's All Fun and Games by Dave Barrett. I'm gonna skip this one. I read the first 2 chapters. Was there a prologue? Why do so many of these books have prologues? Yes, it has a prologue, so I technically read like 3 things, a prologue in the first 2 chapters. Here's a hint to new writers. Skip the prologue. Write the prologue and then delete it. Just, nobody needs that most of the time. So this, it's just not written in a way that I enjoy. I think you can really tell it's like a first novel, and the author isn't as strong with language and with natural sounding dialogue. The people in this, which are all like high school students, they do not talk realistically at all. It's basically super info dumpy in the dialogue, and after the one female character batted her eyelashes twice in a jokey way in a single chapter, I said, nope, I'm not, no. It's basically teenagers, a teenage boy convinces his friend, a girl, to go out for like a weekend to do a role-playing game thing, and he convinces her to go with the promise of hot guys, which is not true. And yeah, that's as far as the first 2 chapters got. I didn't even get to the magic, fantasy, or speculative aspect. I'm not going to get along well with this one, so I'm going to skip it. However, I really liked Asteroid Made of Dragons by G. Derek Adams a lot better. The writing in this is significantly stronger, and it also has a prologue. Guys, stop this. It's not a bad prologue, by the way. It begins with it's a players like traveling little theater thing. The 3 players are they've lost their damsel. They're not sure if they're going to make any more money, and they start practicing a new play where some of them get to they're playing against type. And I have no idea what that means for this book. It feels like a very much a medieval fantasy setting in a way. But it was interesting, mainly because it was written pretty strongly. And then the first chapter switches to a female goblin named Xenon. She's kind of like an archaeologist, anthropologist, investigating or exploring these like ancient ruins. She's detected what is it, arcane resonance. And while she's writing in her journal describing what she discovered during the day, she feels a presence and she goes off to investigate this like glowing sphere thing. And that was really intriguing because I'm not actually sure if this is pure magic or if it's science that looks like magic, because the sphere appears technological to me. And yeah, and that is something that I find very intriguing. So I'm definitely going to continue with this one. And I'm enjoying already this blend of the science fiction with fantasy feel. I could really get into that. So I got 3 more to go, but right now I need to go run a couple of errands before the weather gets too bad. I don't know if you can hear my dog walking around. She's jingling, but my dog is really scared of rain and thunderstorms. So if I leave her alone when it's raining, I come home to things destroyed. She gets anxious and she chews up doors or pees on the carpet and stuff, so I gotta be careful. So I'm gonna run some errands right away before it gets too bad, and hopefully I come home to an undisturbed house. So I'll be back soon. There's the dog for scale. Hi, Eva. She's not happy. And yeah, so I've pinned this shawl out and I have steamed it. I'm gonna let it sit probably until tomorrow morning. Please don't walk on my shawl. Please don't walk on the pins. It is now about 2:30 in the afternoon and I've run my errands. I haven't read more, but I thought since I seem to be doing a vlog style thing today, I'd show you the yarn that I got. Maybe the colors will work this time. And what I picked up at the library, because I put a lot of things on hold at the library. One night I couldn't sleep, and instead of shopping for books online, I just put holds on all the new acquisitions at the library, and I got some really great things. So yeah, come here. There you go. There you go. You can't even see her. She's this little tiny dog on my lap. So it looks like I'm talking to nothing, but I swear there's a little dog right here. So first I got selected poems of Carl Sandburg. This is an American Poets Project book. Hello. Just another one of those poets I want to check out. The Light Brigade by Cameron Hurley, which I'm really looking forward to. I read the short story that I think this is a longer version of, and I like that story. Broken Stars, which is contemporary Chinese science fiction in translation, edited and translated by Ken Liu. I was really surprised that my library actually got this. They've gotten like Liu Cixin's books when I requested them, but usually they don't get collections or anthologies like that. Kid Gloves, 9 Months of Careful Chaos by Lucy Knisley. This is her latest graphic novel, and I've really enjoyed a couple of her previous ones, which are kind of like autobiography, memoir. She's got a cute style, and just, yeah. These feel like wholesome graphic novels. I think that's how I describe them. And then lastly, I got The Bird King by G. Willow Wilson. She hasn't written another novel in so many years since Aleph the Unseen. My goodness, I think that Aleph the Unseen was one of the first books I ever talked about on my channel, and like my very first video back in late 2014. Those videos are not up anymore, but yeah, this one I'm curious about. I've been reading Wilson's run on Ms. Marvel for a couple of years now, and I've really enjoyed those, so nice to see her getting back into novels. And now, the yarn. So this is my book blanket, my reading tracker project, and I've got 3 different colors. I decided that if I'm going to add in a color for mysteries, which I don't read that much of, I should pick out a couple of other things for like historical fiction, memoirs, autobiography, to motivate me to read more of that. So somebody suggested a purple or plum for mystery, so I got the darkest color. I think it's actually called plum. Yes, it is. And the lighting is really terrible right now, so everything looks a lot darker than it actually is. But this will absolutely go, and it's a little bit more dark and purpley than the burgundy color that I'm using for collections, so I'll be able to differentiate it, because I need to be able to read my code without getting things mixed up. So this is going to be for mystery rather than that green that wasn't going to work out. And then I got two more colors. What's this one called? Spice. I don't know how to describe this color. I'd almost call this a salmon or terracotta color, and it actually goes really well with the light mauve color that I'm using. So I'm thinking I might use this for historical fiction. I think that would go well. And then this last one that I got, I was looking for a tan, but they didn't have a tan in this particular line of yarn, so I went with the mustard color because it somewhat coordinates with the golden brown that I've been using. I don't know, it's not perfect. I wanted something a little bit more orangey, but they didn't have one like that, so maybe get there. I think it would go. So this one I would probably use for autobiography or memoir if I read any of those, but I don't think it would clash too much. And there were a couple of other colors there that were very light, like in the pinks and lavenders and grays. So yeah, I think with 3 more colors that will pretty much cover me and keep my miscellaneous mauve category from getting too bloated. So those are my yarn adventures, and I'm going to sit here on the couch and read the first chapters or so of my last 3 books, which are Tail Chaser's Song, The Anvil of Ice, and Rack. And to be honest, I'm not feeling super charitable towards these 2. I should go in with an open mind, but I just am not feeling it. But Tail Chaser's Song, I want to like it just for the sake of my younger self. So I'll be back soon to report on how well it went. It's a good thing that I'm done now because it's like 4:30 and I'm sleepy and I need to start making dinner. And I'm just sort of done now. But I did finish reading the first chapters of the last 3 books. Tail Chaser's Song, unfortunately, this is on the chopping block. I didn't even make it through the first chapter. It's another one with a prologue. And judging by the introduction from the author, this was his first ever published book, or the first one that he sold. And I was completely bored by the opening prologue with the cat mythology and origin story, and I think I just don't love cats that much, or I don't know cats that well to have this be appealing to see the jokes and everything. So I think part of this is inspired by Williams living with cats for the first time and becoming a cat person, and you know, the behavior of cats. It's not working for me, so that one is going bye-bye. The Anvil of Ice by Michael Scott Rowan, I'm gonna give this one more shot. I read the first chapter, which is only 19 pages. Oh, 17 pages. So I think I'm gonna read one more chapter up to page, oh, that's page 57. I don't think I wanna read that much of it before I make up my mind. Basically in it, a young boy who is a thrall, a servant. Everybody in the city hates him because he's a stranger, he looks different. He goes out to take the cattle outside of the city walls and then raises the alarm when invaders come by sea. He's locked outside of the city during the fight. The city falls and he is rounded up with everybody else and actually ends up being taken by a foreign man, not one of the invaders, who senses in him the ability to be a smith. I think that means magic, not just the art of, you know, smithing or whatever. Smithying? I don't remember the word. And I don't know, but it was solidly written. I just want to read a bit more of it to make up my mind on whether I really want to read something that has this kind of dark, gritty, unpleasant tone to it. It could really change after that first introduction. Did this one have a prologue? No, this one didn't have a prologue. That's good. The last one here, Rack by James Bradley, this one has a prologue, but the prologue is done well. It immediately connects to the beginning of the story proper, but not in a super obvious way that would have made it the first chapter. So the prologue is a couple of entries from the diary of like a ship captain in 1794, landing in a part of Australia, and his crew discovers what might be a Portuguese or Spanish shipwreck from 2 centuries prior. And then there is an excerpt from some man talking about who was the first country, whatever, to lay claim to Australia, to have landed in Australia, and that was from 1814. And then the story really gets going with a chapter in the modern day. A man, an archaeologist, and his students have converged on this area in Australia, and they're excavating it, and they find a corpse, a dead body that's been there for a very long time. And yeah, the archaeologist wants to know who this man is and if it's going to interfere with their dig on this land, because, you know, the body was found there. And from what I gather, the story is going to be about possibly who first set foot on Australia. Was it the British, or was it like the Spanish, the Portuguese? And this archaeologist is searching for the mythical covered up shipwreck discovered in 1794 from the prologue. It's not blatantly spelled out for the reader, but you can kind of put the pieces together already. And I really liked that. I really like the style, and it just took me straight back to when I was reading MacLeod. There was something about Bradley's writing that really pulled me along in the story, and I like that part of it, or most of it, is going to be set in the modern day and maybe historical, archaeological, that sort of thing. No idea if this is speculative fiction or not. I didn't get the sense that it was necessarily science fiction, but then MacLeod also kind of walked that line of near future climate change stuff that wasn't overtly hard science fiction or anything. So this one I am definitely going to continue reading, which is pleasantly surprising. I thought that it was going to be very weird, and it's really not. So so that means out of my group of 7 here, I have 1 maybe leaning towards moving on from. I've got 3 that I'm skipping entirely here. It's All Fun and Games by Dave Barrett, Skinny Dipping in the Lake of the Dead by Anya De Niro, saying bye-bye, and Tail Chaser's Song, unfortunately, nope. So that leaves me with 3 that I'm really interested in reading. I was very taken with the beginnings of all of these. Midnight Never Come by Murray Brennan, Asteroid Made of Dragons by G. Derek Adams, and I still want to get to the point in the story where the title makes sense. And then Rack by James Bradley. So 3 yeses out of a group of 7. I feel like I have sufficiently unhauled things that are no longer of interest, whether I get rid of The Anvil of Ice or not. I have to say I wouldn't be sad to see this one go. It's not super up my alley, but I'm trying not to prejudge it too much, as, you know, being 1980s fantasy. It could be a real gem. I'm just not feeling it yet. So I think that is it for me today. I do need to get started on dinner, and yeah, this is just petering out, isn't it? This is like a weird vlog style try a chapter video. So thank you so much for watching this. I hope it was entertaining, taking you along with me on most of my day. The dog is just sitting over here. You can't really see her. So sad. So sad. Say bye-bye? Yep. Okay. That's it for now. Bye, guys.